Welcome to the show. I'm Jen. My guest today is the fabulous Renee Dee, publisher of Iconic Life, entrepreneur, someone I've looked up to for so long, and I'm excited to have you sharing your journey and what you're up to with everyone today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be doing this with you. We have known each other for a long time.
Yeah, and your spirit and your community consciousness and awareness and the way that you have continued to innovate is so inspiring. So
thank you.
Thank you for all that you've done. So Iconic Life is not new, but newer-ish.
Newer-ish.
And it's developing and growing.
Growing every year. So we launched in 2018, and the idea, really, the early vision was to create a national digital luxury lifestyle magazine, and that's where we started. And because of our whole passion for events, which we do so much, that's where the print magazine came along about 2 years later. And truth be told, I wondered how will print do, and it has been doing so well. So we really
gorgeous.
think of ourselves as a multimedia company. Thank you. This is my favorite thing to do. I mean, just like a happy Publisher's Day is doing fashion shoots and cover shoots and all the creative stuff. That's what I love to do.
Well, you sound pretty knowledgeable about that. So let's back up a little bit. So to get to this point, it's not something that anyone can just do. So what has been that evolution and journey that makes you really smart on knowing what to do?
Well, first of all, it's being a little bit fearless because you don't always know what to do. So sometimes you just have to dive in and figure some things out. But I had a background in magazines out of college. I mean, that's what I went to college for at Drake University. I worked at Meredith Corporation, which, as you know, is a huge publishing giant. And so I had the coolest job there ever, that I was the editor of the employee magazine. And so my job was to go talk to everybody in the C-suite and find out how did they do their
I'm
jobs.
sure was no challenge for you.
You know, I loved it. So I was just a sponge learning, everything about the magazine business. So then my career took a couple turns, moved to Arizona, had an agency, and when I decided to launch my first title, I kind of had a sense for what I wanted to do with it because I had really learned from the best. Now, I hadn't done it before, but I had a lot of good background information, and so that's when I launched Arizona Foothills back in 1996.
Which at that time, and what you created, there was nothing like it.
No.
I mean, and for a long time. I mean, you really were a pioneer and set a precedent in this town of what level, magazines and content should really be like.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. What was interesting is the titles that had been here in town had been here for already 30 years. So everybody was settled into their routine, and they weren't expecting anything new to just show up. And, we came on the scene with a bang, and the whole thing was the same thing. Everything that I love about Iconic is what I loved about that. It was about high-end architecture and fashion and style and design. And so that was a very passionate project. And that company grew to be quite sizable by the time I left.
Yeah.
So,
is there a project in particular during that time that stands out to you that is near and dear to your heart?
Oh gosh, you know what? The thing that was most near and dear to me was realizing nobody was writing about charities and nonprofits and community service back then. The other magazines, nobody had that story. And I realized very early on, as people were asking, they wanted to get the message out, my big thing was, I have a platform. I can get your message out. So we launched something every month, which was a one-pager about giving back in our community. And so we made sure that was a feature every single month. And nobody had ever done this before. And I thought, well, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I have this huge platform. I'm putting out 75,000 magazines at this point. And I should be telling the stories of these incredible people doing incredible work and inspiring people to give back. So if we're going to write about luxury, we're going to write about all the ways you can spend that money. And this is one of the best places serving our community.
Why was that important to you? Had you had anything growing up that inspired you, or were you always feeling
Gosh, that's a
drawn
good question.
to nonprofits or volunteering?
No, I really didn't even know what I was doing in that space. When I launched the magazine, I remember I wanted to do an event at a furniture store. It was this food event. And I selected Phoenix Children's Hospital as my charity. And so I didn't even know how to do it. So I called the foundation and said, hey, how do I give you money? How does this whole thing work? I'd never been on a committee before. I just didn't know how it all worked. And so I worked with somebody there very, very early on. And we've done a ton of events with them. And that's actually one of my big favorites that I love to support. But that was my first step in. But again, when you've got a platform, you think, okay, there's a responsibility that comes with that. What are you putting out into the world?
And parlaying off of that with Phoenix Children's Hospital, you have created the iconic house.
Yes.
And then the sustainable zero
Net zero iconic home.
Iconic home. That is so cool. So what is that?
So the iconic house is a designer show house. So I did 6 of those back in the day, and then we did number 7 and number 8 last year. Wow. So the idea is to do 1 a year. It was kind of a funky little timing that we ended up doing 2 last year. But that's a designer show house where you take 20 different interior design firms and you put everybody in a room. Somebody's in the kitchen.
Top of their
game.
Yeah,
top of their game.
These are individuals who are extremely accomplished in their niche.
Yes, top of their game. And I am blessed to have long-standing relationships with a lot of designers who've been very, very supportive. And so I really curate that list. I'm not begging anybody to get in there. I mean, I am curating the list. And I curate for 2 things. 1, absolute top talent, and number 2, ability to collaborate. That's really important. So there are some people that do great work, but if you aren't great to work with in an environment, then you're off the list.
And they have to have that philanthropic heart, because
absolutely.
That is a big part of the house, right?
Yeah.
So you're benefiting an organization for those that want to see the house. Like they pay a fee.
Yeah, so once we get the house all up and running, it's very magical how it happens. So on a Monday, it's move-in day, and 20 moving trucks later, the house is all done. It almost looks like reality TV, how the whole thing comes together. And then the idea is that the house is open for about 3 weeks, and people are touring the home, buying tickets to go through and see the home, and then 100% of the proceeds will go back to the hospital. As you know, last year was a weird year, and because of all the circumstances that we went through in 2020, both of our houses were not able to be fully open to the public. So I look forward to the next one that we do, so we can finally write a nice check to the hospital.
Yes. So is work for you? Because I feel like it's not. I feel like it's, one, it feels very natural for you, and that you have fun doing what you're doing. Is that perception accurate? Because you give that off.
That's a
you
good
work
perception.
hard, but does it feel like work to you?
It does not feel like work to me. I don't like to work, actually. I really don't like to work. That's why I have not held a traditional job the majority of my entire life. So while I'm working hard, it doesn't feel like work to me. It's passionate. And it's funny because it's funny that you've asked me this question, because there will be some days that I'll start my day and I've got my list of what I need to do, and it's almost like there's a boss on my shoulder. Well, you've got to get this done, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do this. And I think, gosh, what is driving me to get all this done?
Yeah.
But I'm on a mission, and we've got deadlines, and I love what I do.
You feel that self-accountability.
Yeah, it comes naturally.
But
it does come very naturally. I don't feel like I've got to push myself at all. In fact, really the thing I've had to learn over the last 20 years is how to turn it off, how to slow it down, how to take time, self-care, take a vacation.
Do for fun?
Anything active. Yeah, anything active. I love to travel. I used to travel a ton. When you go through Iconic Life, the majority of the locations we're featuring, I'm looking, oh yeah, I remember when I was there, when I was there, when I was there, when I was there. We did a story on Milan a couple years ago on Deadline, and I'm like, well, I'll just write it myself because I've been so much. So I miss the travel so much. That is my great escape. But anything physical, hiking, biking, outside, I just have to be outside.
And you take the time to do that?
I do on the weekends. I don't do it enough, quite honestly. I could be doing more. But that is, if I really want to do something I really enjoy, then I love to be active. And so hiking season's coming up. I am not the person who gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and hikes in 115 degrees.
Yeah.
So I have not been hiking, but hiking season is about to kick back off, and I'm excited about it.
And that's why we live in Arizona, to do all those great things outdoors.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're actually taking advantage of it, because a lot of us go into a gym, into an air-conditioned space. So being outside is also good for the soul, too.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, they call it nature bathing. And so just taking in all that, get a little vitamin D and get some fresh air and meet some new people. It's nice.
So you're an entrepreneur and you're very innovative. What can we expect next with Iconic? Anything that you want to share, or is there something on the horizon that we can expect?
There's always a little something on the horizon.
Yes.
We definitely, I don't think it's any secret at this point. So 2 things that are on my mind.
Getting some breaking news. Maybe.
I know, I think this is breaking news, because I don't know if I said it out loud yet, but I really see the print edition going more national to match our national following that we've got on iconiclife.com.
Yep.
So I'd like to get Iconic Life in some other markets, and that is one of the big goals for the new year. And then I do have a vision for something in the world of architecture. Smells like a magazine.
Really?
And I don't know when that's coming, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. It's not been coming for a couple of years. This was an idea I had in 2006, I think. So this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and so that's gonna show up one of these days.
And a nice compliment to Iconic Life as well, to have something like that architecture, lifestyle related.
Yeah.
This is so soft, and everyone needs to get a magazine. It's so nice, and the quality and
Thank you.
Like the look and feel and the level of what you've created is fabulous. So Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for continuing to put your skills and talents out there for us to all consume and enjoy too.
Well, and thank you for supporting me all the time, my PR friend.
Oh, well, you're the best. So we'll have you back to show off the architecture magazine and the next evolution of Iconic too.
Awesome, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you for watching Now with Jen. We'll see you next time.